I ara continuem amb la següent convidada. Ara una dona que ha vingut des dels Estats Units, ha nascut a Califòrnia, als Estats Units, a Portland, Oregon, I'm sorry, a Portland, Oregon, i també és una persona que ha viatjat molt, ha estudiat fotografia i edició de vídeo a Nova York i ha vingut, quan ha acabat la carrera, ha vingut a Catalunya per continuar la seva carrera, per conèixer més i finalment, entre un dels seus projectes, és la co-creació de la Barcelona English Radio. Benvinguda, Cecília Gómez Engler.
Hello. Thank you, Patricia, for having me here. And to the other guests, it's been great meeting you. I guess I could start at the beginning a little bit. My family's from Argentina. I was born in Portland, Oregon, Pacific Northwest, and was raised in California and then had some crazy experiences that also affected me in New York over several years. But those are kind of just points on a map and bits and pieces about my life. I think because I only have a short amount of time to talk, I'll just put it in the context of we all have something universal that happens where you have kind of what I call before and after moments. So important things that happen in your life, there was before that thing happened and after that thing happened. And sometimes it's simple things like before your first kiss or after you learn how to drive, or more important things like the day before you get married or after you lose a loved one. And for me, you know, some of the major life occurrences besides kids, which obviously there's definitely a before and after when you have kids, and finding my life partner would definitely be starting my own business. So for me, that was very transformative. You know, I guess the best metaphor I could kind of think of was like, you know, you're at a beach with your friends and this great idea of jumping off the rocks into the water below, and it sounds really fun. And then you head up to the top of that cliff and you're looking over it and there's like wind and it's kind of cold and it's really far down and the water looks dark and cold and scary. And you jump anyway. And that's kind of what starting a business was like for me. It was a massive learning curve. I learned everything that I didn't know and everything that I did. You know, I knew how to produce I knew how to produce photography, I knew how to produce video. That's what I do. I'm a producer. I have 2 partners in the States. We have a company called Camu Partners, and we produce video and photography for international companies all over the world. And it's a wonderful job. I don't save lives. I don't make massive changes for people, but I enjoy what I do. And creating this business definitely was a big transformation for me because I learned a lot about myself. The first thing was that I actually like being challenged. I found out that the fact that I wasn't an accountant, lawyer, and salesperson, which were all traits I technically needed in order to have a new business, were okay. It was okay not to know everything. It was okay to learn as long as you were curious about what you had to learn. As long as it wasn't totally painful, it actually ended up being sort of pleasurable. And another thing I learned about too was before having a business, I liked people, but after having the business, I learned you get so busy in life, you have so much going on that I just found myself attracted to people that were curious about life, just like I was. My partners, the people that I do the business with, they're women like I am, they're producers like I am. We kind of get each other, we have this symbiotic relationship together. And they're also very curious about life. Everyone travels, or at least a lot of people I know, not everyone travels. A lot of people get the chance to travel, but not everyone necessarily gets the chance to experience cultures where they go. My mom has a saying, she says that some people are like snails, where they carry their house on their back with them wherever they go. And I try not to do that. I try everywhere we go to actually experience the place where you are and the people where you are. And we do that with our business too, so my 2 partners feel the same way. So one of the things that we do, our kind of niche in the world of production, is that we do global productions for international companies. And we really, our focus is that when we're doing a shoot in India, we don't want to go with our foreign mindset and our foreign crew and impose our ideas on what we think that the images that they'll like, that the audience there that's local would like to see. We make sure that we actually listen to the locals, make sure we use local crew, make sure that they're a part of the process because, frankly, they're the ones who are going to be looking at these images and deciding whether they like them or not, and that'll make the campaign successful or not. So that's very important to us. And that's something that we know that we want to do. And then the part of learning, which is always, they go hand in hand, is that we learn every time we do a new shoot in a new place, something, how to improve, how to make it better, how to make it a better experience for ourselves as well as for the people that we work with. And so that was kind of the Cecilia before and after having a business. And then we came back to Barcelona. I've lived here a few times, once as a single person, and now as a mom with a family and more gray hair and stress and all that comes with those things that you get in life, those things that you earn in life. And I came across the good fortune of coming back to Barcelona. And actually, the amazing thing about living in a place that isn't where you're normally from is it provides, like he was talking about, like Mark was talking about, freedom to do things that maybe you wouldn't normally do at home, try things you wouldn't maybe normally try, because there's no one around you to really judge or hold you back. You just try things. And so I saw an ad about looking for radio presenters. I could speak English, or people that wanted to produce radio, and I was intrigued. And maybe before I had all this experience of making my own business and trying things, I might have said, oh, I have some experience. I had community radio experience and actually even some education in it. Might not have tried it, but because I was here in Barcelona, this amazing, beautiful city that we're in, and felt that sense of freedom to just try something new, I went for it. And initially, it was started by a woman named Kate Howden. She's no longer part of the process, but she kind of got the ball moving. It was supposed to be teaching English to locals. And with myself and a woman named Katrina Logie, we kind of started it and decided, let's do talk radio for English speakers that are here in Catalonia. Every day, there's more and more people coming that English is, if not their home language, one of the languages that they speak well and can communicate in. And so that's kind of where the radio came out. And I have my two co-hosts that are here, Hector and Victor, and we have our show on Wednesdays. And it's grown and grown. First of all, Katrina and I, we added men to the program, which was great. We added more days and more connections for people. So that's been my process here and how I got here.
Okay. Perfect. So come here now to talk. Great. But now I would like to know how was that you said already you jumped into the Barcelona English radio.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about the process. How did you start? When is the program?
Yeah, so initially, like I said, it started out being a program about teaching locals how to speak English. So it was very much focused on teaching English, which is not something I do, not a skill set I have. There's amazing people in town that teach English. I wasn't one of them. So one of the things I actually really love is talk radio. And being an expat, being away from home, it's one of the ways I actually connect through technology. Nowadays, you can actually listen to podcasts and listen to these radio shows from home, from anywhere, actually, if you want. And so it's a way I kind of connect back to my roots, to stories, and I've always been inspired by it. And so having the opportunity to do that here seemed really exciting. So little by little, we started getting together, deciding we were each going to take a day, and so each person would have sort of their own program, and you could have the freedom to do anything you wanted with it. And so I initially started the program with a man named Virgil Simons, who's on Thursdays. And then everything sort of morphed and changed, and we've filled out almost the full 5 days, and we have morning programming from 9 to 10 a.m. And it's basically most people from the expat community, but also locals who speak English come on and talk about either their services or what they study or things to do in the city. I mean,
it's a huge English-speaking community living here in Barcelona.
It's growing all the time, definitely. I mean, there's people that are the native English speakers that are here, but there's also a lot of people from around Europe and from other countries in the world that English is their language of communication. And they maybe don't speak Catalan or they don't speak Spanish very well. And so this is, in moments of trying to figure out what's going on, it's a safe place for them to go.
You also, when you were talking about your experience being a daughter of immigrants, people coming from Argentina in the U.S., and we were talking last week, you said something that is in my mind, that you said that being an immigrant should be a nationality or kind of a passport, because it's an attitude, it's something that how you
it's
feel.
Almost like I'm like an immigrant citizen, if that could be something, because I come from immigrants who came from another country and moved to the States, and then I've moved again, kind of adding new branches, new cultures to the family tree, because my husband's Catalan, my children are here. And it's definitely another state of mind, absolutely.
And also it makes you be more empathetic with people also, because I think that the social service that is in Barcelona English Radio is providing is very important, because it's just linking, putting people together.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Making them feel home or
yeah, I mean,
helping them.
Patricia, you've been on the show. It's definitely not
I had
a
a lot
hard
of fun.
news hitting, we try to remain light and open and, give good information and give serious information. I mean, we've had lawyers on that talk
I
us
laughed from minute one to minute the last one.
Yeah.
It was very, very fun, a
Good.
very fun experience. Even it was very early for me.
Yes.
But yeah, if you
Well,
feel
if it
that.
was in the States, it would start at like 6 a.m., so.
No, so no.
They're very early risers.
No. But it also is in. And you said that people from other countries are also here in this program, the podcast. You said that there are some expats that are here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have people that are definitely from other countries that come on the show and talk about, I mean, as long as you speak English, and it doesn't need to be a perfect English, we'd love to have you come on and connect with people. Really what it is, it's about creating those connections within the community and the community of expats and the local community of people who can kind of reach out and help each other. Everything's got, and when you are an expat, when you are an immigrant, you come from that special world of, you've already made the risk of leaving your own country. Mm-hmm. You've already made that first step. So obviously, just off the bat, you're kind of a risk taker. And I think those people can kind of come together, almost like a magnetic force that pulls us all together.
Are you part of the American Society of Barcelona?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely part of it.
So we have here, tell us a little bit about what it is about, or how is that they meet, or because I have been part of it.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about the American Society, I think a lot of people don't know, is it's not all Americans.
No, I was born in Colombia, and I'm part of the American Society of Barcelona.
Yeah, I think it's, it's kind of like English radio, and then it's very much about just having that common language for the most part, too, although not there's also locals, people, Catalans, that are part of it as well.
And I think one of the things that I in my experience, when you have been living abroad, you kind of, even when you come back home, you always will be kind of have something different than the others, so you try to link with people who have experienced the same thing.
Absolutely.
And that's what the American Society or the English radio does for people, for Catalans who have been living abroad, like Mark, for example, or like many other people.
Yeah, it's kind of, in a sense, when you move away from your home at any point in time, that's what I was saying, there's that before and after thing. And for me, a big before and after is that first international trip that you take. And if you're really open to receiving that other culture, you find, wow, there's really beautiful and amazing things, that sometimes I feel that nationalist tendency to say, well, I'm the best or my country's the best really kind of goes away, and you realize that every country is amazing in its own ways and terrible too in its own ways too. You're allowed to complain,
And it's very needed right now in this global society with technology. Kind of, there are no barriers, no borders, no nothing.
No, absolutely true. But also, it doesn't take away from the richness of each place. I mean, here in Catalonia, there's a very rich culture, which I love and enjoy, and it's very special too. It's very different. So the fact that it is the global world doesn't mean you kind of whitewash the specialness and uniqueness of each place.
And it's interesting because there are, on one side, you have this thing that links us other, it's like whitewash, as you said. But on the other side, there are these cultural differences, like in your work, you're doing this cross-cultural video.
Yeah. It's very different. And not
photo.
even just, in customs and things like, in some countries, you got to make sure that the women their shoulders are covered when you're taking photographs of them, but it's even just how they do business, how business is done in different places, which I'm sure Mark, with his multi-cultural business dealings, it's very different. And you can't go in there bullying, like a bull in a china shop telling everyone how to do things. You have to adapt to wherever you are and make sure that's the best, most successful way of doing it.
So still, this is a paradox, kind of, no? Because in this moment of blending, still the cultural differences are so strong.
Absolutely.
And
well, people's identities are still their identities.
Yeah.
There's nothing, and you don't want to do anything about that. I mean, I think that's the magic of it.
And the richness.
Absolutely.
And there is a question here, two questions. One, how English radio promote the Catalan culture to the world?
That's an interesting question. It's not one of our tenets to promote Catalan culture, but I think that we do, just because, first of all, everyone that's on the radio adores living here. And
yes, we live here because we adore
we want to, yeah. So I think, we do talk a lot about the events and all of the sort of magical things that are happening in the city. And, not to say that we can't be critical with it. I think anything that you love, even a parent, you can be critical of them. But I think in the sense that people can get an idea, and we do have listeners not just from Barcelona, but we actually have listeners from all over the world.
That's what I was.
Yeah, and they can actually get an idea of what it's like to live here. Maybe they want to come.
I think many people want to come to live here.
Yeah, they should.
And there is another question. What can you give us as an advice to start a business in another country as a foreign if there are a lot of struggles?
Yes.
Especially producing a show in another language.
Yeah.
Could be a difficulty. This is the question.
Yeah. I think that it's hard to give an advice. There's no one thing that you need to do when you're starting a business. I think anyone who's had their own business knows that there's so many millions of things you need to do that it's hard to pinpoint one. One thing I would say is that do your research. Do your research. Take your time with it. There's no rush. Whatever you're making or producing is worthwhile. It'll be worthwhile in 6 months as much as it is right now. So take your time and do your research. Maybe it doesn't make sense for you. I'm living here in Barcelona, but my business is based in the United States. It doesn't make sense for us fiscally to open an office here. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about doing it. You don't need to rush any decisions. And as long as you've done your proper research and know where things are coming from, and there's that learning curve. It's not easy, but eventually you figure it out.
And now I'm thinking how is to be a woman who starts a business. I mean, there are special struggles or challenges for a woman?
I think there can be. I think in my world there can be, because we do global shoots, there are some countries where working with women is working as a woman is more of a challenge, where you basically need to have a man on the team in order for them for the process to roll out smoothly. That can happen. I think overall, though, in today's society, I either just plug my ears and I don't hear it, or it doesn't seem to really bother us. Actually, in the States, we get a special acknowledgement as a women's-owned business, so that can actually be helpful, or a minority-owned business. Mm-hmm. There's ways that you can use it to your advantage, the fact that you're a woman in business. I would say, though, it's there's been some challenges with it, but for the most part, it hasn't really affected us.
And how you mentioned something when we were talking, when you were at the university. Mm-hmm. You had interest in something that you said, but this was a men's world.
Oh, so initially, yeah, I was studying cinematography, and I loved it. I loved doing it. And but I had this very strange experience where I worked on a film, my senior thesis film, and I was very proud of the work that I had done as the DP, and I got an award, which is great. It was the Nestor Almendros Award, but it was for a female cinematographer. Awesome. And I was the only female cinematographer of all the films that were out there. So it was kind of like this wonderful thing to get this award, and at the same time, this sort of bitterness of like, why wasn't it just the regular award for any DP? And, it was very much a male-driven, and it still is in a lot of ways, the tech side of film and television. And photography, I would say not as much, but it's still there. It is very male-driven. And so at the time I was young and I was impressionable. I think today it wouldn't bother me as much, but it did then. And it was kind of led me in another path, but a path that I'm very happy to be on. So in the end, it was not a bad thing.
No, it's great because you are here with us.
That's right.
And also, you have 2 kids.
I do.
You also balance, like Mark does.
I try. Yeah, I do. I have 2, one very little one and a 6-year-old. Yeah.
That's great. You do it all. I admire you.
I try.
Really, really. Thank you very much, Cecilia,
Thank you for having me on. It's been
telling
great.
us and sharing with us your story.
Thank you.
I ara continuem amb la següent convidat.
You have kind of what I call before and after moments. So important things that happen in your life, there was before that thing happened and after that thing happened. And sometimes it's simple things like before your first kiss or after you learn how to drive, or more important things like the day before you get married or after you lose a loved one. And for me, some of the major life occurrences besides kids, which obviously there's definitely a before Argentina. I was born in Portland, Oregon, Pacific Northwest, and was raised in California, and then had some crazy experiences that also affected me in New York over several years. But those are kind of just points on a map and bits and pieces about my life. I think because I only have a short amount of time to talk, I'll just put it in the context of we all have something universal that happens where
Continuar la seva carrera per conèixer més i finalment, entre un dels seus projectes és la co-creació de la Barcelona English Radio. Benvinguda, Cecília Gómez Engler.
Hello. Thank you, Patricia, for having me here. And to the other guests, it's been great meeting you. I guess I could start at the beginning a little bit. My family's from...
Ara una dona que ha vingut des dels Estats Units, ha nascut a Califòrnia, als Estats Units, a Portland, Oregon, I'm sorry, a Portland, Oregon, i també és una persona que ha viatjat molt, ha estudiat fotografia i edició de vídeo a Nova York i ha vingut, quan ha acabat la carrera, ha vingut a Catalunya per continuar